Hello everyone. This is the backpropagation part 2 because backpropagation algorithm is a big one. I have divided this video in three parts. First part consists of the forward pass of backpropagation and the general understanding about the scripts what I'm going to use in the algorithm. In this part 2, I'm covering the backward pass. So in case in my backward pass, like in forward pass, we used to go from input to the hidden and hidden to the output layer. In backward pass, we'll go in the backward fashion. And we need to calculate the error derivative of error with respect to weight. So those who don't want to go for mathematics, they can skip this part. But I will suggest please go through it. So for finding out the derivative of error with respect to weight, we have to go in the backward fashion. From error is only available at the output layer. So this is my output layer, and I'll go from the output layer to the last hidden layer, then previous to the last hidden layer, and likewise we'll go to the input layer. This is what is my input layer. This is my input layer. This is my hidden layer 1, hidden layer 1, and like this we have hidden layer n. So I have to go up to all hidden layers. And this part consists only the derivation of change in weight between the hidden and output layer. I'm not going for the change in weight between hidden and input layer. Hidden and input layer will be covered in the next part of the video. So backpropagation, again I'm repeating, is divided into three parts. First part consists of the forward pass. Second part consists of the change in weight between output and the hidden layer. Third part consists of the change in weight between hidden and input layer. Uh, in backward pass, I will say we have two kinds of learning, that is pattern by pattern learning, pattern by pattern learning. So in pattern by pattern learning, after every input, I'm going to change the weight. And in batch learning, after producing all the n number of samples, I'm going to change the weight. So we can have two ways. Either I can do with the batch learning, or I can do the pattern by pattern learning. In this case, I'll be calculating the network error, the neural network error, the network error. And in this case, I'll be calculating the average error. Average error is after producing all the patterns to the neural network. Then, so this is summation of as many pattern we are having. I goes 1 to n, sorry, small n goes 1 to n. And you'll be having error for every pattern, error for every pattern. Average error is the summation of error for every pattern. Sorry, I'll write it like this. Error for every pattern divided by 1 by n. So this is my average error. In this case, in pattern by pattern learning, we are going to calculate the network error. Network error is, it is the error at every neuron of my neural network, every output neuron. So this output neuron will give me one error, that is E of alpha, and this output neuron will give me another error, that is E of beta. So because I have two output neuron, so error of one neuron, I cannot say it's a network error. I need to calculate the network error by using error at every neuron. So error at every neuron is, it is calculated as the mean square error. We need to calculate mean square error. This is EMSC is equal to the error at every neuron. This is error. It's a summation of error at every neuron at output layer. And because this is mean square error, so we'll be having mean of this. Because we are having two output neurons, the mean will be 1 by 2. So this is for one pattern. This is for one pattern. So if we do the batch learning, then I'll be writing one more parameter here as 1, 2, 3, 4. In the pattern by pattern learning, I'm going to use this MSC only. So this is the summation of MSCs for every pattern. So like in this example, what we have taken, we have 5 patterns. So we have 1 by 5, and MSC for the first pattern will be having E of MSC for first pattern, E of MSC for second pattern, and like that we'll be having EMSC for fifth pattern. That is my error. That is my average error. So in case of batch learning, I'm going to minimize. So what I want is, I want to reduce this average error. So in case of batch learning, I'm going to minimize this average error. In case of pattern by pattern learning, I'm going to minimize this MSC. So this converts my problem to the optimization problem. Now, because optimization problem is nothing but we want to either maximize or minimize something. So now I'm going to minimize the error of my network, and I'll minimize the total error. I cannot minimize the error at every neuron. If I minimize the error at every neuron, that is not going to give me the whole impact of my problem. So what I want is, I want to minimize the error, the network error. The network error in case of pattern by pattern learning, this is the mean square error of every neuron present at the output layer. And in case of batch learning, once I produce all n number of patterns, so this is average of n number of pattern. This we want to minimize. Now how much I want to minimize is this error. I expect it is either uh, mm, 10 raised to power minus 5 or 10 raised to power minus 3. This depends on my tolerance, how much I can tolerate. So I'll expect this much is the error should be reduced. Then I stop doing my um, trading. So this is my stopping criteria. This is my stopping criteria in case of neural network. I want to uh, check whether my average error is less than equal to this number, or my MSC is, in this case, my MSC is uh, mean square error is less than equal to 0.00001. So then I'll stop. Or I can do the number of epochs. I can go by the epochs, because sometimes this getting this much of precision becomes impractical. So rather than going with the error less than this, what we can do is, like we have early stopping. We say it is early stopping. The early stopping is nothing but when we feel this getting this error is becomes impractical. So after certain number of epochs, I used to stop the learning of my neural network. So that is what is, it is after certain number of epochs. So rather than going with this criteria, error is less than this one, I'm going to use the criteria that is number of epochs. At certain number of epochs, I'm going to stop my learning. So this is what is the general things about So now we completed the forward pass. Now I have to go for the backward pass. So as I told you, I represent inputs with x. So this is x of omega. I have given the names to the neurons so that it will be it this becomes easier to do the derivation. Now I'm coming to the derivation. In the backward pass, what we want is we want to change the weight. What our aim is to change the weights as I told you. So I want a formula for change in weight, and how I'm going to derive this formula. What I want is so that my error is minimized. Okay, that may be average error or that may be a network error. So to minimize this error, I'm going to change the weight. So because I'm going to minimize the error, for changing the weight. So what I required for optimization problem, what we'll do is we'll find the derivatives. So what we want here is we want the derivative of error MSC. I'm going with the pattern by pattern, okay? I'm not going with the batch learning. So what I want is I want error of MSC, derivative of error MSC with respect to what I want to change. I want to change the weights with respect to the weights. Okay. So now my input is x of omega, x of lambda, and this input is nothing but input layer pe input is equal to the output because there's no processing. I can write this output of this layer, that is y of omega and y of lambda. Then this has been multiplied with weight I have is a omega. This weight is b omega, this weight is C omega. Okay. This weight we are having is the beta, sorry, B omega. Okay, sorry. Uh, this weight I have written double. This is weight A lambda. This one is my weight B lambda, and this one is my weight C lambda. Okay. So these all weights I'm going to change while the backward pass. And backward pass, as I told you, in forward pass will go from input to hidden, hidden to output. In backward pass, I'll go in reverse direction. First, I'll change the weight between the output and this is my output, output and hidden, and uh, then I'm going to change the weight between hidden and the input. Okay, so now I have weights here is alpha A. This is weight beta A. This weight I'll represent as alpha B. This weight I'll represent as alpha C. This weight I'll represent as beta B. And this weight I'll represent as beta C. Okay. So first what I'm going to change is I'm going to change between the weights between output and hidden layer. So this weights WJI we are going to change first. Okay. Then we'll be changing the weight. So this is my step 1 and step 2 will be the change in weight. We want to calculate change in weight between the hidden and the input layer. Okay. So first step we'll go for the step 1. Step 1 is I'm going to change the weight between the output and the hidden layer. So for this change in weight, what we need to do is we need to calculate the gradient of error with respect to the weight. So gradient of error with respect to weight. Now I'm going to calculate, I'm going to do the derivation. Now next is my derivation. Okay. So what I want is I want a derivative of MSc with respect to weight. Okay. So MSc, what I have written, MSc is E of MSc ka formula. What I have written, this is 1 by 2 hmm, error alpha square plus beta square. Okay, this is the formula for MSc. Now E alpha is what? E alpha, it is the target output at alpha neuron minus the network output. This is my target output, and this is my predicted output. This is my predicted output of alpha neuron. Okay, target is being considering this is my supervised learning. This is my supervised learning. In supervised learning, the targets are given to me. Okay, so as I told you for the input pattern point 0.5 and something point 0.3 or point 0.8, the output was 1 and 0. So the predicted, the target output is 1 for the alpha neuron, and the Y alpha is the predicted output, that is the weighted sum and the activation function calculated by my network. So this is a supervised learning. This is an example of supervised learning. Okay. Similarly, we have E beta is equal to target of beta minus Y of beta. Okay. Then Y beta, Y alpha and Y beta is Y alpha or Y beta. It is the activation function of the weighted sum. Weighted sum is V of alpha. I told you weighted sum I'll represent with V. Okay. Similarly, Y beta, we have the activation function of V of beta. Okay. Then V of alpha is represented as V of alpha. It is the weighted sum. Weighted sum is what we have. This alpha neuron is connected with three. This alpha neuron is connected. This is my alpha neuron. This is connected with ABC, three neurons at hidden layer, ABC. You can check in the previous slide. This is connected with three in hidden neurons. Okay. So weights between these three is I have W of alpha A, W of alpha B, and W of alpha C. So what we have, V of alpha is the weighted sum. This is weight W alpha A into the output of previous neuron or input to the next neuron. So this is W of beta, sorry, beta, alpha. It is alpha B and Y of B plus W of alpha C, Y of C. This is what is my weighted sum. Okay. So these all formulas we are going to use to calculate the derivative. Okay. So now I can see what I want is I want this weight change of weight alpha A, change of weight alpha B, and change in weight alpha C. Okay. So for calculation of change in weight alpha B, alpha C, alpha A, what we have is J here is the alpha and I here is ABC. I is the variable and J is alpha. J is fixed. This is output neuron alpha and value of I can be A, B or C. Okay. So I want change in weight at alpha A, alpha B and alpha C. So for this change in weight, what I want is derivative of EMSC for derivative weight alpha A. Let's say alpha A Then similarly, I'll have alpha B and alpha C. Okay. So, but if we see this error MSC, if we see this error MSC, do we have where W of alpha A here? So can we find the derivative of W of alpha A with this EMSC? No, I cannot find the derivative. So for this, what I need to do is I need to first find the derivative. This is called my chain rule. I need to use chain rule. The chain rule is I need to find derivative of EMSC with respect to uh, E of alpha, because here alpha. Then again, if I calculate the derivative E of alpha, the remaining is E alpha with respect to W alpha A. But can we find the derivative of E alpha with respect to W alpha A? No. So what I need to do is I need to now find the derivative with respect to what we have variable. T of alpha is constant here. We have y of alpha. Now I need a derivative with respect to y of alpha. Now if I see this y of alpha is written in terms of v of alpha. Y of alpha is written in terms of v of alpha. So I can have derivative of y alpha with respect to v alpha only. I cannot have derivative of y alpha with respect to w alpha a. Now v of alpha is present in terms of w alpha a. I can have derivative of v alpha with respect to w alpha a. Okay, so this gives me the change in weight. This gives me, and this change in weight again, the change in weight WJI, this is proportional to minus of error, because this is a derivative term. Derivative terms cannot be equal to, can never be equal to. So they can be proportional to. So please mind it, this is proportional to. This is proportional. This is proportional to EMSC with respect to WJI. Okay. So now I need to calculate the derivative. Derivative of EMSC with respect to E alpha. If you see, this is a square term. This 2 will come here. This 1 by 2 will be cancelled out. Now we have what we are having remaining is the E alpha. This I can say is E alpha. Then if I find the derivative of E alpha with respect to Y alpha, this term is a constant term. What we'll be having, this is minus 1. We'll be having minus 1. Then y derivative of y alpha with respect to v alpha, because I don't know the activation function. Activation function may be ReLU, it may be tan h, it may be sigmoid, any activation function. So this depends on my activation function. So what I'll do is I cannot find the derivative here. I'll write the derivative phi dash. I'll write this as phi dash of y alpha. And lastly, v alpha, if I find the derivative of v alpha with respect to w alpha a, all other terms will become constant for me. What remaining is y of a only. Okay. So this gives me minus e alpha phi dash of v alpha and ya. Similarly, I'll have the derivative of EMSC with respect to derivative of alpha b. This is minus of E alpha phi dash of V alpha. This remains same. This portion remains same, and Y of B. If I say for C neuron, it is error MSC with respect to derivative of alpha c This is minus E of alpha phi dash of V alpha into YC. So if you see this portion, if you see this portion remains same in all three formula. What changes is we have YA, YB, YC. And with this YA, YB, YC, what this is what? This is input to my, this is input to my alpha neuron. This is nothing but is input to my alpha neuron. And this is what because this we are having change in weight is proportional to minus of derivative of EMSC with respect to derivative of WJI. So to make it equal, I need to multiply with a constant. This constant we say is a learning rate. This constant we say is the learning rate. Derivative of EMSC with respect to WJI. So I think I have written many things on this slide. So now I'll go to the next slide. What we have, two things we have. One thing is the change in weight. I got it is equal to minus of learning rate into E of MSC with respect to WJI. Okay, and I have got the change in weight derivative of EMSC with respect to W alpha A. It is equal to minus of E alpha phi dash of V alpha Y of A derivative of EMSC with respect to derivative of alpha B is equal to minus E alpha y dash of V alpha y of B. Please ignore this. Okay. Now I have derivative of EMSC with respect to derivative of W alpha C. It is equal to minus of E alpha y of alpha y of C. As I told you, this is what? This is because my output neuron alpha is connected to three hidden neurons. This is connected to three hidden neurons. If you see A, B, C, and this is output of A neuron, this is output of B neuron, this is output of C neuron. But this is input to all this is input to alpha neuron. All these three is input to this all three is input to alpha neuron. Okay. This eta I told you is the learning rate. Eta is the learning rate. So what is my formula for weight change? If I substitute this value and what remaining remains to me, what remains to me, this term is equal in all three. This term is equal in all three. So this term, rather than calculating thrice, I can calculate it once only. So, and this is called my local gradient. I say this is the local gradient. Local gradient. I represent this with delta, delta of alpha. This is for all output neurons. That is equal to E of alpha minus of E of alpha y dash of V of alpha. Okay. This is for the output neuron, this local gradient for my output neuron alpha. This is local gradient for output neuron alpha. You need not to calculate delta of alpha again and again. You can calculate it once and substitute in all three for change of weight. So what we have, the formula for change of weight, for formula for, sorry, my battery is low. For formula for change in weight, this is WJI, change of weight. WJI is learning rate eta into delta of alpha into what we have, the input. This is what I told you, input to the alpha neuron. So I can say this is learning rate. My formula for weight change is learning rate into the local gradient into the input to my input to the output neuron. Okay, so this is the formula for my weight change. So I need to stop here because my, as you see, my battery is going to down. This is for the output layer. This derivation we did for output layer. Next, we are going to do the derivation for hidden layer. How we are going to change the weights between the hidden and the output layer. Sorry, hidden and the input layer. Now we have derived the formula for change in weight between a output and the hidden layer. This is change in weights between output and hidden layer. Okay. Next, we are going to derive the formula for change in weight between hidden and input layer. So thanks for this video. After a very long time, I'm very sorry that I have made this video very late, but I hope you will be getting insight from this video about the backpropagation and how the weights are going to change in the backpropagation. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Do subscribe me. Thank you very much. Keep learning.